Welcome back to another Hot Rods in the Woods exclusive. Hey, John here. I'll do a little bit of fun stuff today. I'm gonna start showing you how to box an old Model A, Model T frame. A few things we're gonna do that's a little bit different than many people do is we're going to add a few things that will make it easier on assembly. What I'm going to do is, these are the holes that mount the body. And in order to get to those, you either have to notch the boxing so that you could get behind it and get a nut and a wrench and all that. Or you had to leave an entire piece out, which I showed you in the other frame. Sorry about the noise there. I'll walk around quick and show you where problems can rise later. Keeping in mind, these were meant for a, 35 horsepower motor engine, I'm sorry. So you can leave a space open like this and end up with cracks. Where am I going? Like this. So we aren't going to do that, because I'm going to box it entirely. Now the best way to do that is to go ahead, and I originally planned on using a clip style nut which would slide over with a nut on the back, but because I want to box it completely, I'm going to go ahead and weld nuts to the inside. Now I will center it using a bolt. I will put a nut on there, I will weld it, then I'll remove the bolt and it will be centered in the hole. They are 7/16 bolts, so it's not like there's a lot of wiggle room anyway. So I'm going to do that. I'm also going to, in these three holes here, where the running board mounts are, I am going to stick bolts through from the inside and weld those as well. That way it'll have a permanent way of mounting those brackets. Then I can go ahead and box the entire frame from the front all the way to the center cross member, from the center cross member toward the back, and not have to worry about attachment points later. So I'm going to go ahead and start doing some sanding. And I will tell you, get yourself one of these. They're cheap. I went with the Bauer just because it's really inexpensive. It works just as well as the bad boys. And then get yourself some sanding discs like this. They are really inexpensive. I bought these on Temu just to try them, as compared to buying the more expensive ones. We'll see how they do. But that's it for now. I'm going to go ahead and get those sanded down. Then I'll turn the video back up, start recording, and show you how I mount the bolts, how I center them, etc., etc., etc. And I'll put you back in the pedestal, and we'll be back. So while you weren't looking, I went ahead and dragged this heavy old frame inside, trying to figure out a way to get it to where I wanted to weld. Because it's much easier to weld when you're looking down on the welds than when you're looking up at the welds, or you're on your knees trying to keep your legs from getting burnt. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up in a chain and use the lift as my gantry crane, or my A-frame. I do have in the works right now an opportunity to purchase an A-frame really cheaply this evening, but time is of the essence. So therefore, I'm continuing on with what I have. So I had to build a chain. So I have one built here that I can put together for the front. When I say build, I just had to put a hook on it the correct way, because they sure had some Mickey Mouse stuff happening here. I guess that's about as good as that one's gonna get. And for the back is wider, which means that it will be a shorter chain. So I'm gonna go ahead and rig this one up. Get this metal out of the way here. Get to cutting and End up with stuff everywhere, which is no surprise. It's part of the process. So I have two short chains that I used to use for picking up engines. We're just gonna buckle them together. Once again, Harbor Freight comes through because there's a lot of times when you need stuff and you just can't, you don't know exactly what you need. So I got quick links from there. I don't know, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 of them for probably $7, $8. I don't know off the top of my head. Whereas if I were to go to the hardware store, they're probably going to cost me $3, $4 a piece. So this way I have them in stock when I need them, and I just add them to my wall of magic boxes. And just like that, I've made a mistake. I'm going to hook this through a hole in the frame. I don't have to. It's not going to get smaller. Let's see what happens. Ah. All right, so. Oh yeah, $9.99. These are what I was talking about. You just got to have them. You need to hook stuff together. You can use them on ropes or chains. Sorry, that heavy sigh wasn't. Edit, 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 edit. In 3, 2, 1. So let's see how it works. Going up. I already see a bit of an issue. Let's shorten up this chain a little bit. All right, going up. Okay, well, I can only go up about another 1.5 feet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set it down, see if I can't shorten the chains up a little bit more. Obviously, waist high is a wonderful thing. If I can do it without it falling over. That would be wonderful. I'll do the back one first. It's still hanging on the front one. Yes, I'll have to reverse this procedure as it goes back down, but that's okay. I did notice one thing. Let's turn this around so it's facing out instead of in. Okay, there's that. And this one Let's see how far I can go down. Hey, you're kind of looking at the lift here. Let's take you up. Going up. 3rd floor. How's that? A little better? All right, I can't go down much, but I can go down, you know, about 4 inches. Yeah, we aren't going there. We're going up. Going back down. In a second, you're going to be above the lift. And I'll take her up as high as I can. And we'll see how that works. No matter what, it's already better than doing it on the ground, right? I have a little bit more I can go. Notice how this lift shakes a little bit? It's because there's so little weight on it. And there she is. Set her on the brakes. So I don't know if you can see this. Where's my hand? There you can. So it's much easier to weld right here as compared to laying on the ground. Now this will be the driver's side. So what I plan on doing is putting my bolts through for my cab mounts, my bolts through for my bed mounts, my bolts through for my nuts, and then my bolts through for my running board mounts. Then I'll flip it over after I box this side and proceed to do the exact same thing on the other side. Now I do have a couple things that I need to deal with. No, that ain't going anywhere. One being there's a slight crack right back here at the frame, which is really, it has to be fixed because our rear suspension is going to be on this. And then the other side is torn in the same place. I can only imagine that's because either this Model A got hit or something went wrong in the bed, something. I'm also going to be doing some modifying to this rear cross member, which we'll get to after a bit. I've kind of decided that what I want to do is shave the top of it and make this flatter up here, put a small piece of box tubing inside the channel. Let me bring you over and I'll show you what I mean. That's probably a little better light right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a small piece of box tubing in here and shave the top of this off. If I get another 1/2 inch or 3/4 of an inch, it eliminates the need for this box in the bed. And by doing that, I'm not going to replank the bed right away, but in the future we can replank it, eliminate that, and it just makes for a much nicer bed. So that's in the works for a later project maybe. But in doing so, I not only will add structure, because if you look at it from this side, I'm not going to totally eliminate this loop. I'm just going to start my box tubing about here and go across the inside. It will be closer to flat, but I just really need to take off 3/4 of an inch or an inch on the top. So I'll mark that all out later, but what I want to do now is go ahead and get these mounts in, get the frame boxed, then I can flip it over, put her on stands, and work on this back piece. I still haven't totally determined, and it's sometimes really nice when you have two. If you look here, I'll just take you up on the tripod. You can see there's about 8 inches above the differential. Now, the differential isn't perfectly centered, so I have to deal with that a little bit. But I have room for down travel. This will never have a half ton in the back. I mean, it's going to have, what, 12 gallons of gas? And that's about it. This bed was never designed, I mean, although they kind of considered it a pretty heavy little truck, it was never designed to haul 1,000 pounds of weight. They had the AA, which is the heavy duty truck, to do that. And once again, they had, well, tougher stuff than this. This was your general run-of-the-mill pickup truck. You hauled stuff around the farm. You went back and forth to town with it. You did a little bit of hauling, but it wasn't a commercial hauling rig. So that being said, I have plenty of down travel for rear suspension for a comfortable riding nice truck. So I'll probably go down with the back end of that a couple inches once I put the bed on and everything, and still have 4 inches of up-down travel, which is more than enough for a street hot rod pickup truck. So I'm going to go ahead and get set up here, and I'll start putting the bolts in, show you how I'm going to do that, and then we'll go to welding. So stand by, and we'll be back. Okay, so I don't even know why I'm showing you how to do this, but I will. So being as I'm going to put nuts in these, I'm going to put my bolts. Ooh, that's a little bit on the tight side. Okay, we're going to have to ream those out a little bit. These are 5/16 Allen head screws. The reason I'm using them is because I have them. And I have 3 back here. Apparently old Henry wasn't so exacting. Now, was he? Now, just confirm that that is where it is. And it is, and there's a hole. So, there's those. These don't fit. So I'm going to grab a drill that out, and we'll get ready for those. Because I don't have to cut a lip. Even if I cut a lip for the clip to come over, you couldn't get the clip out because of the nut sticking down. So this is just an easier way. If you never seize these when you put it together, use a lock washer on the top. It'll never come apart. They won't rust and fall out. They won't spin in the hole. So that works easiest. Now, as I said back here, I have a little repair to do. I'm going to go ahead and put this back bolt in anyway. And then I'll get in there and fix that last little crack there. It is rather structural because you have to take into consideration that the rear suspension, the coilovers and everything are going to mount behind that. So we need to toughen it up a little bit. Now I just walked all the way over there and grabbed a bolt. Yes, I do have a nut. But I did not grind this one. So I need to do that quick. All right, I'll sand that real fast as soon as I find my finder. Here we go. I did swap to a disc instead of the flap and sand thing because this is pitted a little bit and this is just a little bit tougher. So let me spin you around. You can watch me blow some sparks for a second, and then we'll get back to where we were. All right, here we go. Just beep, and we're done. And just like that, we're ready. So throw this in here. Oh. This must be a Chinese standard bolt. Okay, so there's my cab mounts. There's my bed mounts. And we're ready for welding. I'll break my welder out, get it over here. Once we do this, now I know somebody is going to say, well, what about the X dimension on the frame while you're welding and everything, and you're worried about warpage? It's no. And the reason I'm not is because this is solid to the other side with 3 cross members. If it were the other one, I'd say absolutely, because I just don't trust that thing at all. It could be shaped like a trapezoid. But I believe this one to be straight. I have measured it. I've made sure that it's absolutely square. It's within a 1/16 of an inch front corner to rear corner at mounting bolts, which is more important than just the frame rail. So I'm going to spin you around. I will get set up with the welder, and then I'll get you back over here so you can see how this all goes together. All right. I'm going to go ahead and purge my machine here. Flip her to 2. Walk around the other side and booger up some metal. Yes, I do have to put my reading glasses on so I can see what I'm doing. I believe you can see. All right, let's give her a little shot here and see what happens. Oh, shit. Good one there. Put another one over here. That one got a little ugly. This old metal ain't exactly magic here. Then we got to put some heat in there. And I kicked the breaker. And there we have it. Okay, so we have those tacked into place. They aren't going anywhere. I'll let it cool off a little, remove the bolts. Then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start grinding the edge here so that I can put my plate on for boxing the frame. Now, a few other things I am going to do at one point or another. I have to remove the old brake master cylinder bracket. A little bit of massaging on there, but that doesn't interfere with me boxing the frame. So I'll do that, and then we will, I'll get back with you. So I wasn't a big fan of the pieces that they gave me to box this, so I'm making new. And there's a lot of fiddling and cutting and playing around to make it all work, but the end result is a piece that will actually fit better. So what I'm doing is I want it to set down inside the frame so that when it's all there, it's kind of stuck. Apparently I have to notch this corner a little more. But the more time you spend, the less time grinding and welding you have to do later. So I'll get back with you once this is all fitted in place, and then you can see. This one is one that he had cut, and it works quite well. So I'll go ahead and use that. But the one in the back, it wasn't long enough. I want to go all the way to the gussets, and I wanted it all the way to the cross member. So we'll make that piece, and I'll get back with you. Okay, so I've gone ahead and put my first two pieces in. As you can see, I've got it tacked in place. Those welds look a little better than the ones that were on this frame, on the other frame. So I've got her tacked in. So now I'll go ahead and start stitching it. Get those in. I did get the nuts in place. I removed the bolts. I don't know why you can see that, but there's a nut in that hole. Studs underneath for the running board brackets. So I'll finish up this side, then I'll flip it over and do the other side, and then we'll start mocking up suspension. I want to get this thing sitting on its wheels here pretty quick. I'd like to get the motor in and all by next week. Okay, I'm back again. Today is Tuesday. Had to use a little ingenuity here. A little bit of grinding to do. When you don't have rotisseries and all that magic stuff, you use some chains to your lift and a ratchet strap. And then you can get at this side here and get her dressed up where you can actually weld it. So I'll be welded on this for a while. This is just a little recap to the end of the video here. I've boxed in the front. Now I'm going to box in the back. I will flip it over, do the other side, and then I'll continue to mock up. I'm not going to finish grinding, sanding, painting, or anything like that until I have the front suspension done, the rear suspension done. Then I'll tear it all back apart and lipstick and rouge it. So bye for now. Next video coming up soon.